Drawing a scene on location, in public, is one of the most stressful things a beginner urban sketcher can do. Hell, even pros struggle with this. It's scary because you feel like you have to be out of there within minutes before someone sees you and starts talking to you. And if you do get started, you're overwhelmed by how complex the scene is and how you'll never capture it properly and just end up messing up your sketchpad. So often, the easiest thing to do is not even bother sketching. But we won't let that happen. In this video, I'll talk about 2 techniques that you can use to make a complex scene simple and minimal. By the end of this video, you'll have a couple of new techniques in your skill sets that will rival any pro. These techniques will help you sketch in public easily without feeling the pressures of others looking at you or being afraid that you'll mess up that clean sketchbook. If you're new here, I'm Karan. I'm a Toronto-based artist and designer, and I'm here to help you become a future artist. Now, if you're a beginner and you want these techniques to work, you'll have to focus on doing one thing well. When we go out to sketch in public, we tend to bring everything. We bring 3 different pens, we take 4 different sketchbooks because they all serve a purpose, and we take all of our markers and a full watercolor set with us. But all of that just complicates things. Learning a new skill is hard enough, so leave all the tools at home and just come with 1 pen and 1 sketchbook. So that's the one thing to focus on, and that's your subject, not your supplies. Having a minimal setup is enough to get you started and focused, but means nothing if you don't know how to look at the scene and translate it onto paper. Most of the time, new artists, and sometimes pros, go straight into a sketch that will end up in the trash just because the composition is all off. But you're not that person. So let's take a look at my sketch and the scene. Can you guess the approach I took? Well, before the pen even touched the paper, I took a few seconds to take in the scene and choose my subject. Once I established the subject, the only thing left to do is decide what else is relevant. In this scene, the most important thing is the World Trade Center tower. It's not the full skyline, or the river, or even the boats passing by. Starting with the tower, I'll begin to sketch the basic outlines of the scene. These are just loose lines. I'm not looking for too much detail here. I just want the tower and the surrounding buildings. Notice that even as I sketch the other buildings, I'm careful not to add too many details to them. I want the focus to be the tower, and everything else are just supporting characters. I'm also choosing only to sketch the defining features of each building. For example, the pyramid top in the building in front of the Trade Center, and the dome of the building off to the right. So when you're faced with a complex scene, a great approach is to zoom in and only focus on the most interesting part. Zooming in worked great for this scene, but for others, it may be disastrous. I just learned about zooming in, and it works great for some complex scenes because it lets you zone in on the subject and you can forget about the details. But for this next scene, zooming in would produce a very boring sketch. And that's because if I zoomed in, the tiny island structure would lose all of its character. Each one of these structures stand independent of each other, and they all come together to make this beautiful installation. For this scene, I want to do the opposite. I want to zoom out so I can capture the full story. Now, just because you're zooming out to capture the whole scene, it doesn't mean you have to sketch every single detail. Tiny Island is complex, and if I drew every single pillar or tree, I'd run out of space on my page really quickly. Instead, I focus on the shapes that make up the structure. I drew enough of the pillars to show the overall shape, but not each individual one. For the trees on top, I chose a few to add details to and used dots and dashes to give the impressions of the others. So when you have a complex scene full of character, zoom out and capture its shape and essence, but skip the minute details. Now you have 2 new techniques added to your skill set that can rival any pro. In fact, with these skills, you can now sketch complex, real-life scenes without feeling overwhelmed. But the pros still have one thing that you don't, and that's the confidence to go out and sketch in public without any fear. But I got you. Watch this video here to learn exactly how you can get out of your own head and enjoy sketching the world around you.